Well, greetings, my spicy Twizzlers. And if you aren't a spicy Twizzler, guess what? You got time to become a spicy Twizzler. I am loyal, by the way, if you did not know. And I appreciate love you all for stopping through, sharing, subscribing, hitting the notification bell. All those things count, okay? I'm a general YouTuber and I also do beauty um, videos and things like that. But today is about true crime, the true crime stories that I heard. I don't know if you heard, but if you heard about these stories that I'm about to share with you today from my boy, my dude, Ray. Yo, he tells the stories the best, baby. And if you don't follow him on Instagram, follow him on Instagram, Ray. You are the one, okay? So let's get into this video. And I hope everybody is staying spicy, you know what I mean? Raising your frequency because that's what we need to do. We don't need negativity around her. But however, reality is true crime happens.
About to unalive her own mom because mom found her vape pen. Let me explain. Now, the girl, her name's Carly, and she's from Mississippi, and she's a good kid. She does well in school. She was apparently student of the year. She's so smart she skipped a grade. But Carly has a problem. She's been dealing with some mental issues, and she's been hearing voices in her head since she was 6. And now that she's 11, the voices have only gotten worse. So, how does she deal with all this? Well, allegedly, she's been herself. And her mom finds out that she's been doing that to herself, and of course, mom freaks out, because who wouldn't? So they put Carly in therapy, and they get her formally diagnosed with major depressive disorder and adjustment disorder. And they get Carly on some meds. So Carly starts taking these meds, but unfortunately, the meds don't seem to be helping. She's still having mental issues. So now what's she gonna do? Well, at some point, Carly gets introduced by some of her friends to a little Zaza. So she starts hitting that Zaza, and it turns out that she really likes how it makes her feel. She's like, damn, this is kind of nice. However, she's still really struggling with the mental illness stuff. And this is the only thing that seems to help. So she starts doing Zaza a lot. I guess she's really into those vape pens. And this goes on for a while. I guess Carly's hitting that Zaza daily. Here's the thing though, she does this so much that her friends start to notice that she's high all the time. And some of them start to get worried, because this isn't like her. So fast forward to around the time Carly is 14 years old. She's still having mental issues, and these problems seem to be getting worse. So they take her off her old meds and they put her on some new, different meds. But still, none of these prescriptions seem to be helping, and the voices in her head continue. Now, here's where things get crazy. One day, she wakes up and she has to go to school. Her mom, who we'll just call Mom drives them both to the school, because Mom's a math teacher at that same school. And so Carly gets to school, and while she's there, she meets up with her friends. And one of her friends is really concerned about all the Zaza Carly's been smoking lately, and about all those burner phones she has. Because apparently Carly has a bunch of burner phones linked to secret social media accounts. I guess she doesn't want her parents knowing she has social media accounts, so she creates them with burner phones, and she'll use them to message boys and stuff she knows her parents don't approve of. Stuff like that. Anyway, so this friend confronts Carly, because I guess he's worried about her. He's like, you're smoking too much Zaza, Carly. And Carly, she gets mad, like he's all up in her business. And they get into a big argument, and it escalates. And Carly ends up cussing the kid out. So that friend, in turn, he gets mad, and he goes and sends an email to Carly's mom, and bro tells her everything. About the stuff Carly's been smoking, about the vape pens, about the burner phones she's got. And mom reads this email, and she's like, oh, hell no. Vape pens and burner phones? She is not gonna let this slide. So, at the end of the school day, boom, mom confronts Carly about the email and about all the things Carly's friend told her. And mom is, of course, super mad. Like, no one knows what was really said between them, but it's safe to assume mom goes off on her. And on the drive home, she's all mad, and Carly's mad too. But she's also panicking, because she knows mom is probably about to search her room and find her shit. So they get home, and Mom goes straight to Carly's bedroom, and she starts investigating, tossing the room, going through her stuff, looking for these alleged vape pens and burner phones. And this is where Carly flips, and she gets a terrible idea that's going to affect her life forever. Carly low-key sneaks into her mom's room, and she lifts up the mattress on the bed, and she grabs her parents' pew-pew. And then she creeps back toward her bedroom, and you can see her walking by on their home surveillance system. And you can see here that she's got the pew-pew behind her back. So then Carly goes into her bedroom where Mom is. And Mom actually just found 4 of her vape pens. So things are about to get tense. But before Mom can say anything to her, Carly points the pew-pew right at her face, and she pulls the trigger. Blam! Blam! And Mom falls to the floor, and Carly fires one more time. Blam! This unalives Mom. But then, it's almost as if she had this planned, because she goes back into the kitchen and she grabs her mom's phone off the counter, and you can see the phone in her hand here. And so she texts her stepdad, who we'll just call Stepdad. So she texts Stepdad and she pretends as if she's her mom, and she asks him, "When are you coming home, honey?" And Stepdad replies like, "Just finishing some things up at work." Now Carly wants to know when he's coming home, because when he gets there, she's about to unalive him too. And strangely, after she texts her stepdad, Carly starts singing to her dogs, as if she didn't just murder someone. Weird. Now, I'm not a doctor, but when you look at all this, the hearing voices, the cutting, the sudden murder of her own mom, and then randomly singing to her dogs during all this chaos, I'm thinking Carly was misdiagnosed early on. I think the mental issues she's dealing with extend beyond major depressive disorder and adjustment disorder. And I definitely think that smoking all that Zaza all the time greatly exacerbated whatever mental issues she's dealing with. But that's just my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. But anyway, then, while she's there, waiting on Stepdad to get home, she suddenly decides to text a friend of hers. And she's like, "Come over, it's an emergency." And so sometime later, this friend comes over. And we'll just call her Friend. So friend comes over, and Carly's like, "You want to see a dead body?" And friend's like, "All right." Then Carly leads her friend to the bedroom, and she shows her unalived mother lying on the floor. And I don't know if the friend freaked out or if the friend is cool with seeing a dead body, but friend doesn't leave, so I guess she's okay with all this. Instead, Carly tells friend to wait outside, because when her stepdad gets home, she's going to unalive him too. So friend goes outside and chills while Carly sits inside waiting for her stepdad to arrive. And soon enough, stepdad pulls into the driveway, and he has no idea anything bad has happened in this house. And so he walks in the front door. And right as he walks in, Carly is waiting there, and she's got that pew-pew, and she points it right at his head, and she pulls the trigger. Blam! Luckily, somehow, stepdad moves out of the way at the last second, and Carly misses his head, and the bullet just grazes his shoulder. So then, boom, stepdad lunges toward her, and he grabs the pew-pew. Blam, blam, it goes off a few more times, but luckily no one is hit. And so stepdad overpowers Carly, and he wrestles the pew-pew out of her hands. And she freaks out, and she exits the house, and she flees. And you can see her here on security footage running away quickly, and you can see her friend following her here. And so stepdad is injured, and he's totally flipping out, and he calls 911. And then police get there, and he tells them everything that happened, and pretty quickly, there's a whole-ass manhunt looking for Carly, with a police helicopter and everything. But it doesn't last long, because soon enough, they find her not too far away, hiding in one of those big drainage pipes. And so, bam, they arrest her. Here's her mugshot. Also, here is some footage of her detained in the back of the police car. Anyway, Carly goes to trial, and she pleads not guilty due to insanity, but the jury doesn't buy it, and they find her guilty, and she's sentenced to life in...
Excuse me, Carly? You are too young to be thinking so deviously. Like, really? What do you guys think? Like, what do you ladies and gentlemen think? Like, did she get the punishment that she needed? I mean, this is for educational, informational purposes only. I mean, true crime happens every day in life, and this is part of reality. However, this is a surprise, okay? Little Carly wasn't playing. She was like, you too far in my business, Ma. So guess what I'm going to do to you if you don't stay out of my business? And there's nobody else to follow up. And, she was going on inside her mind. I think there's something else happening here. But you tell me what you think down below, my spicy Twizzlers. Okay? Next.
So this YouTuber is about to unalive his gay lover. Let me explain. Now, his name is Daniel. He's 29, he's from Spain, and he's got a small cooking channel on YouTube.
Muy buenas, disfrutores, ¿cómo estáis? Vamos a hacer unas smash burgers de campeonato.
Meanwhile, all the way over in Colombia, there's this other guy, Edwin. Edwin's 44, and he's a successful plastic surgeon. He has multiple medical practices in different countries, and bro is making really good money. So one day, Edwin and Daniel, they discover each other on Instagram. And one of them slides into the other's DMs, and Edwin is much older than Daniel, but who cares? He thinks Daniel is fine. And I guess Daniel feels the same way about him, because pretty soon, these two guys are chatting regularly. And they're flirting, and they're allegedly sending adult photos to one another. And most importantly, they're talking about meeting up in person. So they keep this relationship up for a while, and eventually they do meet up. Edwin flies to Madrid to have dinner with Daniel, and they have a good time. A month later, they meet up in La Granja. A few months after that, they meet up and party with a bunch of friends in Ibiza. And allegedly, they're smashing and they're hooking up during all this. And as they travel around and meet up in cool places and hang out and smash, I guess Edwin really starts liking Daniel. And he starts to imagine them being together as like boyfriend-boyfriend. And that is where things start to go wrong. Because apparently, at some point, Edwin confesses to Daniel, and he tells him how he really feels about him, that he's really into him, and that he's planning to move to Spain and open a couple of medical practices there so that they can be closer to one another. Now, unfortunately, Daniel likes Edwin too, but he's not on the same page. Like, he doesn't want to be his boyfriend. So he tries to break things off with him, and poor Edwin's like, no, mi amor. And this becomes a point of contention for them for a while. And at some point, Edwin gets mad, and he doesn't want to lose Daniel. So he allegedly threatens him. Like, if you break up with me, I'll release those adult photos I have of you. And Daniel, he hears this, and he's like, oh, mierda. Because here's the thing about Daniel. Daniel isn't some regular chef with a cooking channel on YouTube. Daniel is actually the son of a famous Spanish TV and film actor, Rodolfo Sancho. And his mom is a well-known actor too, Silvia Brancarlo. Now, this is speculation on my part, but I assume that him having famous parents makes it really important to him to keep those adult photos of him from getting leaked. But whatever the reason, Daniel really doesn't want this information getting out, and he feels trapped. So he comes up with a plan to make sure those photos never go public. And one day, Daniel invites Edwin to meet up with him. Not in Spain, though, but all the way over in Thailand, on a little island, Kopagan. Because he says he wants to go to this famous full moon party, which is like a huge festival they have every month in Thailand on that island. And a lot of people go to it. And Edwin's like, full moon party? Sweet. So then, fast forward to the day of the party, and Daniel travels from Spain over to the island, and he gets there first before Edwin, and he checks into a bungalow. Then he goes to a store, and he picks up some supplies, plastic bags, rubber gloves, scrubbing pads, bleach, and a knife. And then later that day, Edwin arrives, and Daniel goes, he picks him up on a little scooter that he had rented. And they cruise around for a while, and they hang out, and they're gonna have dinner, and it seems like it's gonna be a fun night. Until later, Daniel and Edwin get back to their bungalow, and apparently Edwin wants to smash. But Daniel, he's not feeling it. He's like, nah, bro, I don't want to. But then, allegedly, Edwin gets a little pushy, and Daniel is still like, nah, bro. So they start to argue, and their argument gets heated, like really heated, and it gets bad. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, bam, Daniel pushes Edwin hard, and Edwin falls back, and then pow, he hits his head on the bathtub, and he falls unconscious. He is out. Now, at this point, Daniel could call 911 and get medical attention for Edwin, but that's not what he does. First, he pours water over his head for some reason. I guess he's hoping it'll wake him up. But, of course, Edwin doesn't wake up, and water isn't going to help. And this is when shit gets a little dark. Because Daniel, he then takes that knife he bought and bam, bam, he stabs Edwin twice. Then he uses it to cut Edwin's throat, and of course this unalives him. Then Daniel takes that knife and he cuts Edwin into 14 pieces, and then he puts those pieces into those plastic bags that he had bought earlier. Then he uses the cleaning supplies he bought and he cleans the hell out of that crime scene. And after that, he takes those plastic bags with Edwin's parts in them and he drives around the island and he dumps them in a bunch of different places. In trash bins, in a landfill, in the jungle. So Edwin's body is now scattered all over the island. Daniel even goes and buys a kayak and paddles out into the ocean and he dumps some of Edwin's parts there. And when he's done with all this, Daniel doesn't sit around and mourn and grieve the friend he just lost. No. He allegedly heads over to the full moon party, and he parties all night with a couple of girls he met, and he has a great time. The next morning, beep, he gets a DM, and it's from Edwin's sister. I guess Edwin's sister knows that they were traveling together, and she hasn't heard from Edwin. And Edwin is the kind of guy who talks to his family like every day, so now that he's gone silent, she knows something's wrong. So she asks Daniel, "Where's Edwin?" And Daniel's like, "I haven't heard from him since he left last night." And then, I guess so as not to seem suspicious, Daniel goes to the police, and he files a missing person report like, "Hey, my friend suddenly went missing." Here's the thing, though. By this point, a sanitation worker was at the local landfill, and he was going about his day, and he found some of the bags with Edwin's remains in them. And he had immediately reported it to police. So police now have these random body parts, and they know someone was murdered. They just don't know who. So then Daniel comes in, and he reports his friend missing. And he apparently has cuts and scratches on him, and all of this makes police very suspicious. So they question him, and they press him, and pretty quickly Daniel's like, "All right, I did it." And he confesses to unaliving Edwin and dismembering him. However, he claims it was self-defense. He claims that back in the bungalow, Edwin was trying to SA him and that he had to unalive him in order to defend himself. Regardless of whether that's true or not, bam, police arrest him. And Daniel cooperates, and he takes the police to all the places around the island to show them where he had dumped Edwin's remains. And he also tells police that he was never actually romantically involved with Edwin. He claims that they were potential business partners, but that they're not lovers, they never smashed, and that he's not even gay. Sure, Daniel. However, when Thai police investigate all this and they look into Daniel's self-defense story, they end up finding surveillance footage of Daniel buying the murder knife and the cleaning supplies at the grocery store before Edwin even arrived on the island, suggesting that this whole crime was planned out beforehand. And then, of course, the story hits the news that the son of famous Spanish actors unalived his secret gay lover in Thailand, and the story blows up and the news is everywhere, and ultimately Daniel is found guilty of unaliving Edwin, and he's sentenced to life in prison. And here's what he looks like in real life. So,
Spicy Twizzlers, those are the two videos that I'm going to share with you today. Keep it as short, keep it as sweet, okay? And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please feel free to share, like, comment, turn the notification bell on. I would greatly appreciate it. And the others of my crew, my squad, would definitely appreciate it. Until next time, stay spicy, be peaceful, kind, loving to yourself and others that are around you. Okay, before I go, honey, Daniel wasn't playing, okay? What goes around comes around, okay? The light has been flourished on his crime, baby, and he had to go and get behind bars, okay? He was like, friends, how many of us have them? And then he was like, you know what? You talking too much. You talking too much. You doing too much. This is supposed to be on the down low. And you playing with me? And my life? Oh no. And my family and my friends and excuse me? I don't want people looking at me like that. That's what Daniel said. That's what Daniel was thinking. True crime every day in life. It's a part of reality. And that's all I have to say. I'm loyal and I'm out of here. Until next time, mwah.